Joining me now is the ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Democratic Senator Bob Menendez. Thank you for being here.
Good to be with you.
An important day to have you in terms of what this means on the world stage and what this all means for America. So did you have a chance to listen to the press conference? So you heard it in its totality. One striking difference that the president has with Theresa May is his view on immigration. Let's let everyone listen.
In terms of Russia, I guarantee whoever it is in Russia, they're saying, oh, gee, do we wish that Trump was not the victor in that election. We have been far tougher on Russia than anybody, and probably than, look, I'm not going to go down 100 years, but certainly we have been extremely tough on Russia. And now with all that being said, if I had a relationship with Putin, I don't know him. I met him twice, maybe 3 times, 2.5 times.
Okay, that is what he said on Russia. So let's start with that, and then we'll get to immigration. The president's going to Helsinki on Monday. He's sitting down with Vladimir Putin. And on Russia, he claims no one's been tougher on Russia. And this administration has had some tough policies, sanctions, weaponizing the Ukrainians. But the rhetoric on Russia has not been tough. So he says no one's been tougher than him on Russia. And he also said about Crimea, I was handed this bad hand from the Obama administration, and there's nothing much I have to say about it. What's your read?
Well, first of all, it's the Congress that's been tough on Russia because the Congress passed mandatory sanctions without waivers. First time that I have seen in my 26 years in Congress that the Congress passed mandatory sanctions without giving the president the waivers on Russia because the Congress, in a bipartisan basis, was concerned about how the president would treat Russia. So it's the Congress that's been tough on Russia. And I am deeply concerned as he goes to this meeting, including a meeting where it's going to be a one-on-one, where we won't really know what happened. That, he gives the back of the hand to our closest allies and embraces people like Putin. So whether he's going to stand up, as the Senate Foreign Relations Committee just voted, that Ukraine and Crimea, that the invasion and annexation of Crimea, the continuing action in Ukraine, is something that has to continue to be sanctioned, whether or not he'll move back on our NATO exercises, whether or not he'll give up on Syria in a way that's going to affect the region. I'm seriously concerned about the things that he may agree to with Putin because he wants a relationship with Putin that goes far beyond a relationship with any of our allies.
You heard Theresa May say that she is supportive of this summit that the president's having on Monday with Putin. Are you supportive of it? Are you glad at least that it's happening?
Well, I am not glad when the president says about Putin that he is a competitor. Putin's not a competitor. He's an adversary at best, and in my view, a foe. Anyone, a thug who tries to undermine the elections and the democracy of your country, as he did in the presidentials, as substantiated by all of the intelligence agencies, including the president's intelligence agencies, and a bipartisan vote of the Senate Intelligence Committee, is not a meeting in which you think you have a competitor. You have someone who's trying to undermine your democracy. So you need to not ask him the question. You need to tell him, I know you did it, and here's the consequences.
And he did say, Jim Acosta asked him, will you bring up election meddling to Putin? And he said yes to Jim Acosta.
He'll ask him the question, but there's not a question to be asked anymore.
We don't know what he's going to say. We're not going to be in that meeting. And as you said, not many people will be in that meeting. But here's the counter argument to that. The relationship with Russia is not strong now with the United States. It's not good. It's not beneficial to the United States. Why not try to make it better? It sounds like you completely oppose this summit happening altogether. Is that right? I mean, if you had your druthers, would you rather the president not go to Helsinki on Monday?
If I had my druthers, I'd have the president clearly delineate what he's going to challenge Putin on.
But would you ever not go at this point,
That's
Senator?
Not the point, Poppy.
I'm asking you, because neither of us know what he's going to say in there.
But he could tell us all before he goes. He could tell the American people, I am going to challenge Putin because I know he interfered in our election. I'm not going to ask him a question. I am going to say to him that, in fact, Crimea will never be accepted as an annexation. These are the types of statements. Then I would say, yes, I'd embrace the summit. But the president wants to embrace Putin, and he is doing the work for Putin throughout the Western world in terms of creating chaos. He's a human wrecking ball.
Let's listen to what the president said on immigration, because he said this in the interview with The Sun, and then it's pretty much the only thing that he repeated nearly word for word the same way this morning on how he views immigration as damaging to the continent of Europe. Let's listen.
I think it's been very bad for Europe. I think Europe is a place I know very well, and I think that what has happened is very tough. It's a very tough situation. I mean, you see the same terror attacks that I do. We see them a lot. I just think it's changing the culture. I think it's a very negative thing for Europe. I think it's very negative. I think that's very much hurt Germany. I think it's very much hurt other parts of Europe. And I know it's politically not necessarily correct to say that, but I'll say it, and I'll say it loud.
What's your reaction to that from the president?
I wonder how he would have felt at the time in which Friedrich Trump, Donald Trump's grandfather, an unaccompanied minor from Germany, came to the United States during a wave of European immigration, which in my mind didn't change the culture. It changed the United States for the better. It enriched the United States, and our history since then has enriched the United States. So, you know, the president is actually the beneficiary of being born in this country as a result of a migratory pattern that brought his grandfather here and then gave birth to his father, and then ultimately he was born in this country. So it's ironic that he takes that view.
It does tell you about the president's mindset on immigration overall, who he's talking to, his base ahead of the midterms, does it not? Does it not tell you exactly that the president seemingly is not going to move an inch on this?
Oh no, the president is so borne down on this issue that he is convinced that this is maybe appealing to his base, but it undermines the greatest experiment in the history of mankind, which is the United States of America, that have brought people from all different walks of life and enriched this nation. And the fact that he cannot come to the understanding, some of the greatest startups in our country these days are from immigrants, so that he cannot understand that he himself is the beneficiary of the type of immigration that he now continuously criticizes. It's pretty amazing.
The third part of this trip, as we go, is ahead. It is what the president deemed earlier this week maybe the easiest part of his trip, and that's the meeting on Monday with Vladimir Putin. So far, the NATO summit, this set of meetings and the dinner with Prime Minister Theresa May, this working trip, has it been beneficial to America?
I don't think so. The reality is that he has unsettled the Western alliance, the transatlantic alliance. NATO is at the core of a 73-year history. It was there after World War II. It helped us win the Cold War. The only time they've used their collective defense provisions is on behalf of the United States after September 11th. He unsettles these allies in such a way, and only in the president's parallel alternate universe can you, stab your host in the back in an interview and then embrace them subsequently.
Well, look, when she was asked this morning, do you feel undermined by Trump, Theresa May, she said,
she's
said
far
no.
more diplomatic than the president, Poppy.
Thank you for being here, Senator Menendez, and thank you for waiting. I know we took up a lot of your time this morning. We appreciate it very much.